Hello guys, Evans here once more. Welcome to these tutorials in programming visualbasic.net. And in the previous tutorial, I just showed you guys how to download Visual Studio from Visual Studio website and have it installed onto your computer. In this tutorial, I will be teaching you guys really how to write your first program in visualbasic.net. I mean your first working application in visualbasic.net. In case you didn't download the Visual Studio, or you don't have the Visual Studio on your website, please watch the previous tutorial before this one, and get Visual Studio, and pause this video. You can watch it later on when you have Visual Studio installed onto your system. So let's get started. Let's run Visual Studio. Now, for the sake of some of you guys who just installed and you can't find Visual Studio listed on your computer here, on your most used applications, you go to all apps. Like I said, I'm using Windows 10, so I don't know what operating system you are using. But if you're using Windows 7, if you go to Start and All Programs, if you scroll down, go to Microsoft Visual Studio, it should be listed somewhere there. Microsoft Visual Studio. Okay, and select it, and you will see Visual Studio Express 2015. Okay, so if you're using Windows 8, I think the arrangement should be similar to Windows 10. Okay, so you will see Visual Studio listed among all programs. But in my case, Visual Studio is just among the most used applications. Okay, so just click there, and yeah, so once your Visual Studio is loading, if it is loading for the first time, it will take a while to load because it is still configuring some of the stuff. But if you've run it before, then it won't take even so much time. All right, so like I said in the previous video, that I'll explain some of the features that we may need to as we work with Visual Studio. Most of them were deactivated because we didn't have a working project. Like you can see, the Solution Explorer here is blank because we don't have a working project. And later on, you will see most features are going to be activated as there will be need for a project. The toolbox here as well, you will see that it is blank because we don't have a working project, especially the project that has to do with a form, because that's where the toolbox are going to use most of the features when we do with a project that have to do with a form. But this is just your welcome screen in Visual Studio. When you run it for the very first time, you will see this screen. And I think even if you're not running it for the first time, you still see this screen. It's a start page. Okay. So like I said, you can go to File if you want to run a new project and select New Project. But there is also another way. Just right here, you can get a new project. You can open an existing project, and so on and so forth. And here, down here, you can have your your most recent projects that you created. Remember, in the previous video, we attempted to create an application, and we called it My First App. Okay, so we are going to create our first app, our first program, our first working program in visualbasic.net. So to get started, let's click on New Project. Okay, so New Project. And like I said, for a number of you, when you just install Visual Studio for the very first time, it will probably be Visual C# is the one that is going to be selected, and you will see that Visual Basic is not going to be listed here. So don't get worried. You just need to select Visual Basic there as your working language, and then these are the different Visual Basic applications that you can build. You can build a Windows Form application, a WPF application, a console application, shared project, class library, and so on and so forth. But like I said, our main interest is really to build a console application. And like I promised in the previous video, that I'm going to explain really why I would want you to start first of all with programming console applications, and then later on grow or advance or move on to Windows Form application. Really, the reason is very simple, because console application, you are dealing with the exact text. You are dealing only with a text. You're not really dealing with Windows Forms or any other control boxes and stuff like that. You're just dealing with the text, purely text. Okay, so this means that it is purely programming statements, and you get to know the language better. Okay, because what happens when you program in Windows Form, some controls or some programming features, I mean, they are done for you. You just drag and drop onto your form certain buttons and so on and so forth. But with a console application, you are forced to build from scratch. You're forced to type, to code your program from scratch, and this is really a very good platform for you to build application. It's like people who program in, I mean, who develop websites, and people who build websites using Dreamweaver and front page and so on and so forth. But people who build a website using Notepad, which is just a blank page, and you start code from scratch, they really have a better understanding of the code than the guys who use the GUI in terms of, I mean, in wanting to build their applications. So really, this is what I want you to do. I want you to program, first of all, in a console application. There, if you get the experience, if you get the knowledge of the programming code, the syntax of the language, then you can advance and convert all your knowledge into programming using forms. Okay, so later on, of course, in the towards the end of the tutorials, we will start to program with console, I mean, rather with form applications. By then, you guys will be advanced, you will be experts, you will know what you're talking about, you will know certain codes, and it will be it's going to be very easy to program that way. So in this case, let's go ahead and select a console application, and then down here, this one shows you name. So what name do you want to give to this project? Okay, so you need to choose a name. Now, may I also say here that the choice of a name is really up to you, but you should choose a name at least that gives you an idea of what the project is all about. Okay, because if you're just going to choose, let's say you just type in X as the name of the project, I mean, X won't mean anything, and the next project you call it probably Y. Then the other project you call it Z. I mean, with time you'll find that you're going to really struggle on finding out which project is which. Okay, so it is always advisable to give the name of the project a name that is really giving you an idea of that what that project is all about. Okay, so in this case, like I said, this is going to be our first application in Visual Basic.NET. So if I call it my first application or my first app, really, I mean, no matter how old this program is going to stay, if I come back and I just see my first app, I will know this was the first app I ever built in Visual Basic.NET. So let's go ahead and give it a name. So I'll call it my first app. Okay, my first app in Visual Basic.NET. Okay, so like I said, this is showing you the location where the project is going to be saved. Okay, the moment I hit on OK here, the project is going to be saved in documents. Okay, in documents, and then under Visual Studio 2015, and then under projects. So I showed you that if you want to see that, you can watch the previous video. I explained what's going to happen. So a folder is going to be created called My First App, and inside there, all the files that are related to this project are going to be saved in that folder. So let's go ahead and click on OK. Right. So as we are waiting for our Visual Studio to create the platform for us to begin coding our first app, you're going to see that or we are going to note also that most features are going to be enabled now. The Solution Explorer is going to have is going to be enabled here. As you can see, it was blank, but now it has just been enabled, and the project is there, the references and the configuration file for this, and then the module where we are working, which is module 1. Okay, so this module is actually where our project code is going to go. Okay, so now this is very important. Let me just begin to talk about this. So now module and end module, they go together. So if you click on module, and you will see that end module also be highlighted. It's just showing you this is a segment of code that will go together. So this is where your entire program, from the beginning of module 1, this is the name of the module 1. I mean, this is a name that is you can choose this name as the programmer, or you may leave it as default as module 1. Okay, so from this point to this point, this is where all your code are going to be embedded. There is nothing that you're going to program that is going to be outside module 1 and end module. Okay, now sub is actually where the main program begins. Okay, now your the program, when you run it, it will run from sub. Now sub is a procedure, of course. I'll explain later on when we come to deal with the section for procedures and functions, okay, or when we talk about routines. Now, so let me just say, for now, just know that sub is a routine, or is a type of routine, okay? So the name of the routine is actually main, okay? So every routine, for example, this is a sub, or this is a procedure if you want. It begins with the reserved word sub, and then the name of the sub, and then open and close parentheses, and then end sub, okay? When I run this program, the first part that is going to run, or the program is going to run, beginning sub, main, end sub. All the code that will be in between here is the one that is going to be executed, okay? Of course, when we come to build other routines like functions and procedures, we'll code them outside sub main, okay? And we'll call them inside sub main when we want to use them. But for now, our focus is really just to build our first working application in Visual Basic.NET. Okay, so the first thing that I want us to know is how to make a comment in Visual Basic.NET. So to make a comment in Visual Basic.NET, you just put a single apostrophe like that, and then you can make your comment. This is my first working application in VB.NET. Okay, this is my first working application. Now, a comment doesn't change anything. Okay, this is just for you as the programmer to know what the system is all about. Okay, this comment really doesn't get to be processed in any way by the system or by the computer or by the program. It is just for you. Okay, so comment is considered as one of the best programming practices, because you will see that every statement you would need to comment or make a comment, it just makes it easy for you to know what that statement that you have written is all about. For example, I would want to print something onto the screen. Okay, to print something on the screen, we use the reserved word console dot. Okay, the moment I hit console dot and then write, let me say console dot write line. Okay, and then open and close parentheses, and then what goes in there is a string of what I want to print. Sorry, is a string of what I want to print. Okay, so in this case, I want to print something onto the screen. Okay, now what I want to print is hello world. Okay, most people, when they introduce people to programming, I don't know if it's a concept, I learned it as well in school. The first program I ever wrote was the one that said hello world. I don't know who brought this idea and so on and so forth, but it is generally hello world is the first program that you ever write in a particular programming language. So I want to print is a string. Now, note that I've put whatever I want to type in quotes because it is a string. Okay, so I want to say hello world. Okay, hello world as my first statement that I'm going to print in my programming language. Now, I want to show you something here. This is the statement that I want to print on the screen, but I've deliberately left out something because I want you to learn something here, because if I put the next statement there, you won't really so much learn something. But I want to show you something. Just that statement, we are fit to go and run. So let's click on start and just watch what happens when I click, the moment I click on start, start. I guess you didn't notice anything, did you? I didn't see anything as well. On the output here, it just showed that the project built, started, and the project name and so on and so forth. But we did not see anything on the screen. Did we? No. Now, the reason we did not see anything on the screen is because this screen, we need to pause the printing or the statement. We need to pause it. Whoa. Wow. Now, it has spoiled anything. Oh, it has spoiled what I wanted to explain. But you saw the screen flash. So it was really taking time to build and oh, maybe let me run it once more. Because what I wanted was a black screen to flash, and we couldn't just read what was on the screen because it just flashed and then it closed. So let's run it one more time. And then we saw the screen flashed onto the black screen flash onto the screen, and then it closed automatically. Let's run it one more time so that we verify that. You click it, you see the black screen run and then it's closed. The reason it is closing is because the screen there's no facility to tell the computer to hold the screen so that the user can read what has been printed onto the screen, and then it can close at the user discretion. Okay, now what we want is to close the screen to when we click on start, the screen should pop up a black screen on the screen. On the screen, a black window, and then we can go ahead and read whatever will be displayed, and then we can close at our own discretion. Okay, so to do that, you need to do what a console.readline. Okay, so console.readline. Now, a console.readline is actually going to wait for the user to place, rather to press any key on the keyboard, okay, or enter key on the keyboard before it can exit that. So let's go ahead and run, and you will see that it's going to flash hello world, and the screen is not going to close. It is just going to hold until you press enter key or close the window. Congratulations, guys, you've just written your first working program in Visual Basic.net. In the next tutorial, I'll be introducing you guys to the concept of variables, constants, and operators, okay, both arithmetic and logic operators. Now, the next video really is going to get a little bit intense because we are going to go into details of programming in Visual Basic.net, and I encourage you to really watch the video, get the concept, get the logic. I try as much as possible to really go back to the basics so that you guys, as many of you do not have the working knowledge of programming, that you can have an understanding of what really we are trying to communicate to you, to teach you. Okay, so I'll try as much as possible to go really to the basics of variables, the basics of constants, the basics of logic operators, the basics of arithmetic operators, and what they are and what we use them and how to use them, and really come up with an example of a program where we are going to implement the use of variables, constant, arithmetic operators, and logic operators. So in the next video, I'll really talk about that, and in the following videos, we are going to really put these into practice. All right, so thank you guys for watching this video. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this to my channel, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. It will give you an opportunity whenever I post a new video, you're not left behind. You're going to be on the same page with me. Now, these videos, I'm recording them whenever I get to have the free time, okay, because I'm working and I'm so loaded. I've got a lot of stuff to do, and whenever I just get to have a free time, that's when I do a recording and then I upload the video onto it. So if you want to really move at the same pace with me, just subscribe to my channel and you get a notification in your inbox probably whenever I upload a new video onto YouTube. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.